Hey, Oni with the first blood. What's up, man? Happy Sunday. I had a pretty chill out day, Oni. I took like a 2.5 hour nap. Kids stayed with my brother. He just brought them home. That's why the stream is starting a little late. And they are absolutely out of their minds tired. Honey Badger is just such. He is. I call it broken brain. It's when he is so tired he can't even think straight, and he just says the first thing that comes to mind. It's kind of like being drunk for a child, right? Extra angry, no filter. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. All right, let's get started. What's up, guys? So I figured this out. I posted it up in Discord last night, but I figured out actually when we were looking at not this. Where is it? So here in browser use, right? Let me go back. So in this repo, they had some really cool visualizations, and I was trying to figure out where they were getting them from. So let me see here. Like this one, where you actually see like the element highlighting and whatnot happening. I was like, okay, this is pretty sick. I like this. I finally figured out where all this was coming from. I did a little bit of recon on the developers, and they've got another tool in here called Web UI. So apparently this hooks in or hosts its own copy of Browser Agent. And then in here, let me refresh this. Let's see. Yeah, this is pretty sick. So if you watch this, basically it gives it a prompt, gives it a task. It's running local Chrome, so you can kind of visualize it. But I love this idea. And watch, opens up the web page. You see it highlighting everything, interacting with it. This is pretty sick. Hey, Dan, thanks for the resub, brother. You know I appreciate you, man. Hack the planet. So I wanted to actually dig through this real quick and see how it's actually doing this. Maybe we can incorporate that a little bit over into our headless browser. In fact, we might just go deploy it and connect it over to there, and maybe we can do a little bit more debugging to figure out what the heck is going on with it. Because we're still facing the issue where the headless Chrome Docker container just absolutely falls on its face when we try to load anything more than a very simple website. Well, let's go see if we can maybe mess with this a little bit. Let's go clone this sucker out real fast. Let's see here. Where do we want to do this at? Do it over here. There we go. And actually, I'm going to rename that. So let's call this Web UI. Browser use Web UI. Let's call it that. That way I'll remember what the heck it is, because Web UI is kind of generic. All right, so what do we need to do for setup here? I want to kind of set this up and test it just a wee bit. Oh, let me go boot up the lab real quick. There we go. We'll get that started up real fast here. All right, what were our install instructions here? It looked like it was really simple. Basically, clone it down, set up a virtual environment, use UV to get it cleaned up. So I think we have UV installed. We don't have UV. UV package. So we can go set that up. which I believe it's just a standalone binary. Yeah, you'll see. Now, one thing I always like to do as a safety precaution is before I go run any of these like curl installer one-liners, take this and just open it up in a new browser. Hang on. So what you do is, let's go downloads, we'll do a wget on it. And then just take a look at like what it's doing here. And just make sure there's not anything like obviously crazy about it. Like it's just downloading some kind of binary blob and hitting it. Let's see. Take a quick look at it real quick. Find the home directory. Hang on one sec, guys. One sec, guys. I'm not pooping, Oni. I was talking to Sock. He was giving me an update on the overly tired, extremely combative children and how bedtime went. Let's see what we've got here. I'm just doing a quick skim through this installer script because it's always good to know before you start running code. I forgot this was written in Rust. That's one of the reasons why it's so dang fast. Oh, dude, Honey Badger. Honey Badger don't give a F on the best of days, let alone on days when he didn't take a nap and he was out playing in the sun. My brother took him to go swimming at a friend's pool, and they were just outside getting cooked. He's cooked internally from no sleep. He's cooked externally from the sun. Boy's just beat. Wait, what is this? See, this is the kind of stuff that makes me go like, excuse me? See, when I see random base 64, it gets my hacker sense to tingling. What is that? That's such a weird... What are they doing with this? So odd. Okay. It doesn't look malicious, it just looks odd. They've got some kind of weird hack in place there to run it. So there's nothing blatantly obvious with it. But anyway, so what we can do is we can just run that. Except I gotta go shemad this. I'm gonna take it the brute force way.
Hack the planet!
Hack the planet! Alright, so now do we have UV? We do have UV. Nice. Alright. Hack the planet. What's up, brother? Alright, let's come over here and then let's go through the rest of the install instructions. Yeah, anytime I see an install one-liner like this, I always want to go check out the install script. Let's see. So we'll go set us up a Python virtual environment. And then install our dependencies. Good thing is UV is so fast at handling dependencies. It's crazy fast. By the way, I was watching on Twitter. So there's a funny thing known in gaming where it's TTP. And anytime you give users any kind of artistic or creative ability in a game, they will invariably draw a penis. So it's time to penis. Well, there was another one similar to that for programming, and it was TTRR. And it was time to Rust a rewrite. So anytime you release a project, it's time to the first comment of how long till you do a rewrite in Rust. I was like, freaking Rust, man. I'll give the Rust devotees this. They are devoted. Right, hang on, I got to drop into OPSEC mode real fast so I can configure this environment variable here. That is not what I need. All right, stand by, y'all. Got to grab API key here. This is not what I want to happen. Hang on, stand by, y'all. Nope, that's not what I want. Because last thing I need y'all to do is go burn through all my Anthropic credits. So far, I think all the work we've done on HackBot has only cost about, I think, $10 in Anthropic credits. There we go. Anything else we need in the env file? I don't think so. I think this should work here. Debugging port 922 on localhost. Okay, I think that will work right there. There, that. Not sure if I've ever seen this. Hang on. What are you sending me, Hacks? Oh, the jerk out, dude. Yes, I have seen that, Hacks. Yes. We actually had a guy at a place I used to work at who like recited that verbatim, and there were several female employees in the room. He almost got called into HR. He was dancing with fire. Young kid, didn't quite understand office decorum. All right, let me see here. Oop. Drop back out of here. Let me double check something real quick. Wait, do we have the... Oh, I need to activate the virtual environment. Let's do that. Let's see. Let me double check something real quick. I'm trying to make sure. I don't think I'm in the virtual environment here. No. Did I miss a step here? Hope I didn't. Oh, I hope I didn't just mess something up here, because I did not actually source the virtual environment. Might have just jacked up the system. Well, in theory, it's already up and running. An easy way to check if you're in your virtual environment is this right here. Make sure you're actually in it. Jerk time can be taken a number of different ways. That's true. It can be. Let's go run this. I want to see if I can give it a quick explanation here. Let's see. We'll get the VPN set back up. All right. Go open this. Oh, cool. They're using Gradio? That's the name of it. Yeah, Gradio. Let's see. So extended system prompt, MCP server, JSON. Cool. Just to Anthropic. See here. We should have all this already kind of set up in here. See if I can zoom this in so y'all can see it a little bit better. We have base URL for API. We're all good there. Max input tokens. Tooling method auto. I wonder if we could actually set this to where it needs to be. Those are agent settings. Let's go try run agent here. Your task. Let's see. Visit. I gotta get the IP address to the server. I want to see what it'll do with the panel page here. It's not what I wanted. There we go. Hey, Bobby, what's up, man? Favorite bit from Silicon Valley is the network administrator interview scene. I have never actually watched Silicon Valley. I'll try to. I've been meaning to try and watch it. I was kind of iffy on it, and then as I've seen more scenes for it, it looks hilarious. Let's see. Grab the page. Let's just try that. See what happens. Let's see what it does here. It should be able to connect to our local... Actually, let me double check something real quick. No history to create GIF from. That's fine. Double checking something right here. Remote debugging port 9223. I think it was able to connect though. I don't remember if I set it to 9. I don't remember if I got the port correctly. If it was 9222 or 9223. So we're gonna have it connect over to the Docker container, kind of browse over to it. Because what I really want is, it would be sick if after we go through and run through this stuff, and I probably won't work on it tonight. I'm just doing a quick test on it. Well, we got it. But to be able to see when we send tasks over to the browser agent, like, hey, by the way, you need to go do this to upload the PHP web shell and get the reverse connection off it, whatever. When we do that, having it go through, like if we give it complicated tasks for like solving a web application example, having that recording would be absolutely amazing. Especially when we're trying to like debug what it's doing. Tenkin Zero, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online, and happy Sunday. Or Monday, depending on which part of the world you're in. All right, is it working? It's maybe thinking. Oh, error. Hold on. Stop. Oh, there we go. I think the browser agent is probably not set up correct. Let me go. Or maybe I crashed it last time. I'm sitting here trying to think, like, what is it doing? Here, let's go ahead and stop the container. Yeah, it should be 9222. Oh, that's why. Okay, here's what's happening. I forgot how this container was set up. So we set the remote debugging port to 9223, but we also have a SOCAT forwarder here. That's what's happening. And it's forwarding 9222 to 9223. That's how we're getting there. All right, but it should work. Let's run the Docker container again, and then we'll try this. Copy this. We'll send it back up here. Oh, wait. Actually, hang on. Let me go to agent settings. Where is our setup for? Actually, I don't think this is. I think this is a browser setting. Take that back. Let's see. Window width. Let's do 640 by 480. We'll just do like a real small one. CDP URL. This is actually what I needed here. 127.0.0.1.9.2.2.2. There we go. Now we're talking. I think this should work. Let's go try it. Let's see. Stopping due to 3 consecutive failures again. RIP. Okay, I'm not worried about this because, like I said, this isn't crucial for now. This would be handy for after we build the user interface. Right now, it's not a big deal. El Tio, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. All right, so I'm not going to worry about this for now. We'll go ahead and kill it. But I like the idea of it. Let's see here. We'll close that up. I'm going to mess with that probably offline and just give a little bit of a test for it. This is like some of the stuff we would see if we were running this. So bright. There we go. Let's come back over here to our Python code. We print that out. Same thing with this one here. So this thing is working. We'll still have to work on the stability issue where it keeps crashing the Chrome headless container, but I kind of like where it's going with this. This is great. So now the question is, how do we want to format this as a tool? We might be able to just use the tool decorator. Let's see. So we have our persistence tools here. I think what we'll probably do is here in the browser agent is we'll make a couple of helper functions in here that could also be tools. Because when we're looking at this, actually, you know what I need to do is I need to actually come over to Stinger real fast, and I need to have it go pull a new pickle. We need ourselves a new pickle. So we'll let it go ahead and run through the entire chain here real quick. Oh wait, I need to update the IP address. Update you. And we'll copy it. So we'll go ahead and let this run real quick so that way we can update it. Hey, there we go. Oh, actually, I want to do this real quick. Upgrade the LangGraph CLI server. What am I going to do? Let's go, actually, before we do that, I'm going to drop this in here, but I'm going to go try and knock this part out real fast. First, you're so far beyond first laughing. Let me turn off this interrupt. Oh yeah. Yeah, Oni beat you by like 30 minutes. You and Oni, you guys are weirdly obsessed with my poop schedule. I just want you to know that. right, let me kill this real fast here. And then, let's see. I gotta remember exactly what we were doing with this. So this is in the HackBot LangGraph server. I'm gonna do it over here fast. Let's see. Wait, I know you're in here. What? Hold on. Yeah. I know I'm in the correct directory. What in the crap is going on? This is weird. Why is this showing up here? Oh, I know why. It's because the LangGraph server shell is not in this branch. We're in a different Git branch, and it's not in there. Hang on. I'm going to brute this real quick. I'll just go grab it off the Git. So I don't feel like bringing it over. Here we go. This is the code we need. Here we go. What do I even call this file? LangGraph server sh. I'm just going to remake it real quick. There we go. So I need to go figure out where this LangGraph dev is right here. What is going on here? That should have been installed. Oh, maybe it's because we're not in the Python virtual environment. That's what we probably did. Let's go activate. I mean, the easiest way, the hardest way would be just doing it over here. Let's do that. Poetry. Crap, what's the poetry command? Ain't nothing weird about pooping. No, just how absolutely fascinated y'all are with the poop counter. That's the weird part. This was... I gotta remember how to do that. I haven't had to do it in so long. Poetry. Activate environment. Monkey see? Monkey increment. I know you do. I know you do, laughing. That's okay. That's why we love you. The poetry init. Add. I know there's a way to actually get into the environment, though. I think it's poetry run. I think I just do bin bash. Is that it? There we go. All right, where is this sucker? So it doesn't show up in the interface here, but we actually are in the virtual environment. Let's see. Update package. I don't remember where that is. Kill this once. Want to update a dependency. Poetry update. Can I give it just the one that we need? Let me see here. Poetry list. I think that will list. Nope, that didn't give it. I think the package is LangGraph tax CLI. Let's see. Hey, John. Yes, sir. I do like hacking. I do like planets. Losing my mind here, though. Look in the poetry install. Because I'm trying to remember exactly which package it is. Oh, wait. I think... No, we didn't install it as a global package, because if it was a global package, it would have already showed up. Let me see here. Here we go. This is the one we need. In mem. Drop this in here. You're killing me, Smalls. I gotta remember how to do this with poetry. Let's see. Poetry update install. Dependency. I don't want to update them all though. I just want to update this one. Oh, Python dependency hell. Hate being stuck in it. Let's see. I don't want to update every dang package. What I want to do is just update that one. So let me check something. So the command is LangGraph, and we can see where it's at. Yeah, so it's in the virtual environment right there. So we know it's not universally installed. It's installed as part of a dependency here. Let's see. Yeah, it should just be poetry update for that one. Which I already tried here. No dependencies to update. All right, well, I'm not going to mess with it then. I don't want to burn up too much time on this. Let's go ahead and get the LangGraph server set back up. And then we'll go do our initial run of it here. That way we can get our fresh pickle. There we go. All right, so what it's going to do now for anybody who hasn't seen this before, it's going to run through the entire pen testing workflow. But when it hits the exploitation agent here, you can't really see it, but there's this node here. It's very hard to see, but it's called load pickle. What it's going to do is going to save a copy of the state table for the entire execution. Then we don't have to rerun the entire workflow. We can just go rerun it from there. So we just got to give it a sec to go through and let it run through, do its port scanning, its go busting, everything else. Once it's done, we can just work on the exploitation agent. And the great thing about that is we had to supply like the initial state table to bootstrap this. We won't have to do that for the exploitation one. Once we get it up and running, we can just send a blank one. We don't have to fiddle with it. It'll be good to go. So we probably have to, some of the tools I think we'll need to make for the browser agent is we'll probably need to make a tool to create a browser. And then when that happens, we'll store that over in the state table, basically like a reference to it. Let's see what else we'll need to do. We'll need one to create the browser. We'll need one for like kind of interacting with the browser. Yeah, kind of hacks. So what we're going to try to do is actually get it to play Hack the Box and try hack me and go solve these problems. So after we get the basics of it done, right now we're working on the exploitation agent. There's one more after this, which is the PostX agent. Once the PostX agent is done, we'll start actually building out the user interface. And then at that point, we're going to move beyond RootMe and we're going to go try other, systems. And then as we find out where its tooling is deficient or maybe its execution flow, we'll begin doing iterations on it and revisions and updating it. So the whole goal right now is to do this. I'm getting ready here, probably after 4th of July. I will start on doing some more of my professional development. Honestly, with all the live chaos, I've not been working on it. And I've got some courses queued up for Azure and AWS offensive security. I'm going to go through those. I'm going to start building out, probably in private, an Azure agent to work with this. And I'll bring it in once I'm done with the course. But that's why I'm going to be building it up in private, because I I'm going to be learning the material as I go through it. I know some stuff about working with Azure, some of the requirements, but there's a lot of verbiage overload when it comes to Microsoft products, and the context can be really crazy. So it's something I'm working on shoring up and understanding better. What did we... Index list out of range. What did we get here? I mean, that's actually not important because all we needed it to do was get to the exploitation agent. Okay, so there's an error in the step processor, but I'm not worried about that. Let's go see where it actually went to. Let's go see what the exploitation agent was doing. So we'll just look at the language calls here. So exploit suggester said we told it we want to get a remote get a code execution from a web shell. Output. So task is upload a PHP web shell to the panel directory, execute the commands. So this is what the agent is kind of saying we should do. So then the exploit planner comes through and actually provides the steps on how to do that. Let's see what we're going to need. So the target has an Apache web server running on port 80. Here's the plan to accomplish this, which is create a basic web shell that can execute commands on the system. And this would be fine, but we've got a different version we're going to try to do. Navigate to the target's upload form to panel, submit the PHP web shell. So this is all the stuff we're talking about would be handled by the browser session in here. See, navigate to the target's upload form, submit the PHP web shell through the upload form using the file upload field. So if direct PHP uploads blocked, try bypassing restrictions using like PHP JPEG or PHP 5. Perfect. Check the uploads directory to make sure it got dropped in there. Test the web shell by accessing and attempting simple commands like ID or GUI. Perfect. This is a perfectly plausible plan. So after it gets here, first thing it does is it says, okay, hey, we need to actually get some tools out of here. It goes through the step processor. We get the web shell. Perfect. Let's see. We'll have to actually see how we want to handle this. I'm thinking I was hoping to avoid it, but I think once we have the information about the web shell, we're going to need to come up with a method for shared storage for the agent where it can store relevant files on disk, because it really, really wants to go grab this data from disk and upload it. I was hoping what we'd be able to do is take this data and send it as part of a post request. That was how we actually structured this tool to work with it. So that's another thing we'll have to kind of take a look at, is how to interact, how we want to give it a systematic way to interact with disk. Let's see. So then as part of the navigate, it does the HTTP GET, which is fine. So where did it actually error out for us? Let's see. That's about as far as it got, and then we got the error on it. No problemo. So now the cool thing is, once we're done with this, we can actually come back over here and go to our exploit graph, and we can just run this directly. Gotta read this a wee bit. There we go. Makes it a little bit simpler too. All right, let's see here. So basically, every time it runs through this loop is when we have to kind of execute one tool. That's the general idea here, is that we would execute one tool every time it runs through here. I think we had an issue. So there was an issue with how we were handling the the paths when it came to robo pages. So let's hop back over there and take a look at that real quick, because we are going to need to be able to drop that onto disk or put that somewhere where it can reference it. So another thing we could also do is taking a look at the execution loop here from the exploit planner. We can either go execute the steps individually. If there's a way that we can actually say that, hey, by the way, this is all taking place in the browser, we want the browser to handle this, that's another way we could do it. Because if we gave it, see if I still have it up. This one. Because if we look at the exploit planner, where it comes from, right here. So these basic steps right here, a lot of this could be handled by the browser. We just need to be able to tell it, hey, when do you want to go invoke the browser to have this happen? That's kind of the kicker here. I think the idea of creating the tools over in here. Close up some of these. Session. I think the idea of having the browser agent here create some of those tools for us, I think that's probably the smarter way to do it. Wife had an important Instagram video to show me. Is there such a thing? Hey, guy, what's up, brother? Happy Sunday. Oh, yeah. I didn't read the can right. Not sponsored by Jocko. Yeah. Working on it. I'm moving better, actually. I'm just worried if I go try to do a Murph in my current situation, I'm going to eat it. No, you did not. What? Why are you people so obsessed with my poop schedule? Hey, you're gonna start streaming? Nice, dude. I know we had talked about it, but that's awesome, man. Peaches is asleep under my desk right now, fighting a mock battle. There's a timer on the poop counter laughing. There we go. Let's do that. All right. Let's think about this. Okay, actually, so one thing we're going to need to do is let's do a little bit of planning here before we start just slinging code. So one of the things we're going to need to work on is we're going to need some kind of shared disk space for our tools. Places where I can go reference things. So like, hey, we want to go get... Where did that thing go? Hang on, guys. I just knocked something off my desk that is actually very important. My desk was actually amazingly clean until my dad passed away, and then now I have so many of his work papers on my desk now. Well, I say work papers, but it's just like papers for taking care of his estate and my mom and everything. One of them being an old SIM card that I need. And I just accidentally flicked it off my desk and had to, or off the placeholder for it. Let's see. So we're going to need shared disk space for our tools. So the problem with this here is that we need to figure out how to with robo pages. There's a question here. We never went back to go address it because it wasn't really much of a concern. After this, we need to make tool wrappers for the browser. And so this would be stuff like we want to navigate. We want to click on stuff. Things like that. And another one would be like upload from disk, which is why we need this section up here. That's shared disk space for the tooling. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we're going to need with this. I think we're going to need some way to... One thing we're going to need is we're going to need the ability to initialize. Basically what we're going to need is we're going to need browser control. Browser controllers. Basically, CRUD functions. Create, reuse, update, destroy. So we're going to need CRUD functions for the browser. So we can say, hey, go open a new tab, do something else, spawn a new container, whatnot. Question is how we're going to do that exactly. For this part, actually, this might be one of the first things we want to work on is browser control CRUD. And now we've got the Docker Compose in there, which is handy, right? That was what I wanted to do. Right. Build an SSH tunnel. There we go. So over here in Playwright, we have the browser use Compose right here. I mean, we could even do it very simple as to say, hey, do we have a library in Python that's already set up where we could run this? Either that or we can just use like a shell command to go run it for us. The problem is now when we want to upload something to this, we need to have that shared memory coming over to that container. So let's go ahead and kill this real quick. Let's look at the Docker Compose here. What we're going to do is we're going to want to add a volume over to this. Let's take a look at that. Docker Compose. How do we use environment variables in Docker Compose? Okay, so we can literally just use them like this. Then we can have a .env file in there with it. Okay, so the .env file has to be located next to the Docker Compose.env. Okay, so one thing we'll need to do is... Let's see. I'm actually going to split this again. Let's come in here, and then it gets specialty agents. Browser use. There we go. So let's go ahead and vim a .env file here. Let's vim the Docker Compose. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up an env file that kind of explains where everything comes from in here. This is really suboptimal. I wonder, actually, there has to be a better way to do this. We can also use the env file flag. Okay. So if we do that, that would be the better option. Rather than having an env file like directly in line there. Actually, this is the way I would like to do this right here. And that is, we just set the environment variables and then we run the Docker Compose. think that would be the better way. Let's see. Docker compose, specify file. So you can just literally do it with a TACF. Awesome. Okay. Oh, you could actually run multiple compose files. I did not know that. Nice. So once we can do is, we'll do a little bit of architectural engineering here. Let me bend the env example here. So let's go ahead and add something to this. I'm gonna delete that out. Let's open one here. Let's call this, what do I want to call this path here? We'll call it let's call this the container root path. And in this case, I'll go ahead and actually I'm gonna leave that for now. Yeah, I think that'll be a good way to do this. Hang on one sec. I gotta drop into OPSEC mode while I set the live env file. It's got all my API keys. Let's do container root path. Set that to home Debian. HackBot, and then what is that path? We had a /data directory in here, didn't we? We had robo pages. How I typically do my Docker compose YAML is leave the YAML unchanged, reference variables, put all the mutable variables in the .env. That's what I'm thinking about doing. And since we can reference the env file from since we can specify the env file planet, that's what I'm thinking to do is we'll just reference the env file at the root of the project, and that'll have all the various all the variables that we need for the environment. So that way we'll load up like what's the container root path, and then we'll share that container root path into each of the individual containers in there. Now we'll still have to work out how to get that over into robo pages. I think it should work. It does load it by default, but what I didn't want is I'm trying to keep all the env files from being spread out across the project. And I know you can't see it right now because I'm actively editing it, but hang on one sec. Let me get this. Let me look at something real fast, and then I'll drop out of OPSEC mode here. Yeah, so there's our data directory there. Let me think about this real quick. So we're just going to make a new directory called storage in here. And that's what we'll put everything. Okay. There we go. Done. All right. So over here now, we have a new directory called storage. That's going to be in the root of the structure here. And then what we can do is we can basically structure everything we need over in there. There was a data folder over in robo pages, but I didn't quite want to use that. Yeah, I'm thinking that having I'm taking inspiration from Mythic on this, because Mythic, if you ever look at the configuration file, it is one freaking huge env file. And it can be a pain to find stuff in there, but also you only have one place to go find stuff. Are you doing this with a CI/CD? Nah, not yet. No, I don't know if I'm ever going to use a CI/CD for this, since it's all Python and I'm not worried about it. I might. I haven't decided yet. Once we get past the initial like alpha release, I'll say this. I'm going to do I'll probably rename the repo. We'll release it as Stinger AI, and I'll call it the alpha release once it can solve RootMe. And then every change after that is going to be highly subject to breaking stuff. All right, so storage is where we're going to put all this stuff in here. So now that we have this, let's think about how we want to run this. So for storage in here, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in. So it's going to be in project folder / storage. That's where we're going to stick that. So then let's go do something else. Let's see. Python Docker. So we could run containers, manage containers, do all that good jazz. Let's see here. So literally it's just a pip install Docker. Nice. That is one of the best things about Python is that you have all the libraries to pull in. One of the worst things is making sure all your libraries play well together. So client containers run. Let's see. What about compose? Any reference for compose in here? It's under services. Putting thought into a CI would be super helpful if you're going to do it. Trying to convince devs who work on stuff that the pipeline should be idempotent is a hard concept to get across. Man, why gotta use the big words? Idempotent. I'm remembering what that means. Unchanged in value when multiplied by other operators by itself. Dude, I had to think about that in forever. Let's see. Let's see. Python, Docker, Compose. So what I want to do is eventually we'll have like a master compose file that will reference other files from there. We will keep the compose files in their individual spots, right? Actually, I'm not even sure that's necessary. I think so. For the sake of scalability, yeah, I think we will do that. So Docker Py library provides Python to interact with Docker Engine. Let's see. Directly interacts with the Docker Engine API. You can still leverage it in conjunction with Docker Compose by managing the underlying containers. Yeah, but I would actually want to run the Docker Compose. Let's see. Run Docker Compose from Python. So I don't want to just run it as a shell command and let it go do its thing. So you set the stateful configuration, and no matter where you start, you always finish at the same place. Gotcha. Okay. Eventually, I do need to go revisit Ansible because there's some stuff I want to do in Ludus. So in this case, they're saying you could just import subprocess. I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. I know there has to be. Hey, Mueller, what's up, brother?
Incoming transmission from E_Boiler.
Actually, hang on. Tommy, I got something for you. Regex 101. So, grep, when you're trying to learn Linux, is the GNU regular expression parser, I think. I forget what the P stands for. But what you're doing is you are passing in a file or a stream of text. So, like if you do pipe grep, it's just going to read that data that text you're sending over to it. Or you can tell it, hey, grep from this file, this string. So what you're seeing is a regular expression. So for example, let's grab some lorem ipsum real fast. Let me show you. Here. Let me go grab this. So we'll throw a little lorem ipsum in here. So for example, if we wanted to just match a specific word, right, we just give it that word in here. So the whole magic with grep really focuses around whatever the regular expression is. I think if I can think of a better example for it. I tell you what, actually, yeah, here. So for example, we've got the RoboPages CLI server here. So if I do grep, and there's lots of different commands you can do with it, I can take this and I can say from RoboPages, yeah, RoboPages, and then let's say from the CLI here, I want to grep for the term RoboPages. That's what we're doing right here. Oh, I got this backwards. I forgot. It's actually the regular expression, then it's the file. So, okay, I got the backwards. RoboPages. It's going to list everything in that file that has that whatever that regular expression that you're working with right here. Pretty much, yeah. So cat will read everything from the file and dump it to the terminal. Grep will only return the lines that match whatever the regular expression is. So, like for example, if I did something like this, right? This that's a valid regular expression. It's going to return the same thing over here. And you can also do I think it's type B, to get the opposite. Return every page that doesn't match the regular expression. So your best friend when trying to understand it is just look at the man page. So do man grep and kind of read through and understand. That's what you're doing. You throw your options in here, you throw in your pattern, which is your regex, and then the file that you want to do. And you can do the same thing with this. So instead of doing it this way, what I could do is I could cat RoboPages, let's say CLI, and then pipe that over to grep. And now it's not reading a file, it's reading whatever that data stream I just sent over to it is, in this case. Taking my LPI next week and just trying to learn a few things I'm struggling on. I got you, man. I would say one of the fun things you could do is come over to this site. I'll drop it in the chat here. Regex 101. I use this site a lot for kind of understanding, is my regex that I'm testing actually going to work? Especially when I'm trying to match things like IP addresses, because a lot of times you will do like 3 digits, but that doesn't actually work for an IP address because the first digit, it can be anywhere from 1 to 3 digits, and the first digit can only be a 1 or a 2, things like that. This is a great site for testing out your regex. What is piping? So here, that is better explained with a the diagram here. So let's say you're familiar with the cat command, right? So when you cat something, basically this says, read the file, dump to terminal. That's what it's doing. So you read whatever the file is and you dump it to the terminal. It doesn't matter if it's actually readable ASCII text or anything like that. You're just reading it and dumping it over to the terminal. So let's say, for example, I say cat file.txt, for example, and then I do a pipe here. What happens is cat is actually taking this and it's reading the file, and where it's dumping it to the terminal is actually a buffer called your standard output, standard out. Instead, when you throw a pipe in here, what happens is the standard out from this command gets connected to the input buffer, which is the standard in over here. So basically, cat's standard out, which is the standard output, gets put over into whatever this other program's standard in is. And so this is the common programmatic setup for binaries. They understand what standard out and standard in is, and they can read from there. Carson, what's up, man? Hadn't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Equivalent 2 to 1. Yeah, exactly. So what would be the situation where you use that? Let me show you real quick. So one example might be if you had a text file here and you're doing a lot of parsing on it. So you might do, and this is actually not perfect form, but I'm going to use it as an example anyway because a lot of people do it. So let's say we do cat file.txt. And then we know there's duplicated lines. So we pipe that over to unique. Now what happens is the standard out from cat gets connected to the standard in for unique. Unique returns just the lines that are not duplicates. And then maybe we want to take that and pipe it over to word count with attack L. And we want to see how many lines are actually unique in this. So you could do this right here. So we're taking the standard out from cat. We connect it to the standard in from unique. The standard out from unique gets connected to the standard in from word count. And then standard out from word count eventually just dumps over to your terminal right there. Oh, Tommy, do not even apologize, man. Everybody knows I have zero problems going off on side tangents during the stream. You're all good, brother. Got super busy with an internship at school. Carson, do not apologize, man. That's awesome. I love it when everybody comes in and hangs out on the stream and is giving even people like Lappin and Oni that are just giving me crap about my crap. But if you've got life, do not feel like you're obligated and I'm gonna hate you if you don't show up to the stream, man. It's a good time. It's a chance to come in and learn some stuff. And heck, I know a lot of folks just tune in and they're working on their own projects and they're using this as like a co-working stream. That is totally cool. I love that. Been watching for a few weeks and very helpful. I'm glad, man. Dude, I've been doing this for a long time. And I remember when I first learned about this, the pipe, I felt really dumb asking my buddy who was like a Linux master, essentially. It's like, hey, what was that thing you did with the vertical bar? He's like, you don't know what the pipe is? And he read me the riot act on it. So I've given you the 10-second explanation of it. Don't feel bad, dude, because everybody has to start learning from somewhere. Nobody is born with all the knowledge in the universe. And if you don't ask questions, how are you going to know what you know? Right? How are you gonna learn things that you don't know? Damn it, Oni. You can't pipe to cat like that, Oni. That's not how that works. What is CYSA, Tommy? I'm drawing a blank on it. Here. What was that? Let's see. Oh, the CompTIA security. Yes. Okay. Dude, it's been so long. I took a certification last year, but it was mostly for fun because we had been working on an offensive security course on stream before I started HackBot. And then HackBot kind of took over after that. And I took that certification just for completeness, like to complete the red teaming arc. And I'm really glad I did because it was actually a really fun experience. You still can't pipe to cat like that, Oni. That's not how cat works. That's not how pipe works. I'm gonna go with Giuseppe. Thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. Apologies if I said that wrong. I'm making my best guess here. Okay, this is not exactly what I wanted to work with. What I want is... Hold on. Run Docker Compose from... I mean, we could just do it with threading and have it go off and be its own thing. Not so concerned about that. Which looks like that's every suggestion in here is just run this. Lame. I get what they're doing with this. This is not my preferred way to do this, is with running Docker Compose from a subprocess. I was tasked to run a phishing simulation on staff as part of my internship. Do you have any recommendations? Do they have... Carson, check to see if they have access to a platform called No before. Yeah, so no B in the number 4. know before a lot of companies do have access to it, and it's a very simple tool for using for setting up phishing engagements, especially like for repeated testing of users. And this would be the absolute simplest way to go through and do that. Setting up infrastructure for phishing can be quite involved because there's a lot of defenses around phishing. It's one of the top infection vectors. Ooh, that's a good idea, Ford. Yeah, they have phishing sim in Microsoft 365. I don't remember which license level that is, Ford, but that's a very good one. I've never used it. I forgot about it. So thank you for bringing that up. And in fact, what's funny is Know Before can be kind of easy to spot. I trained SOC very well to spot these, and she would forward them over to the internal IT team where she worked and like be heckling them on email. Like, you're gonna have to try harder, guys. It was hilarious. And she's not really like a combative person, but she thought they were so annoying and she had lots of real emails to deal with. It just kind of made her a little bit persnickety. Dude, I don't know why it is, Carson, but so many schools love Google Workspace. Do anything with the teacher sending a PDF with a keylogger attached. Yeah, right. Let's see. There has to be a better way for this. Let's see. Python Docker Compose library. Surely somebody's made a library wrapper for this. Let's see, when was this actually updated? Let's look at the release history. This hasn't been updated since 2021, so I'm not holding my breath that it actually still works. But Docker Composer, let's see here. All right, so this was actually updated this year. Cool, okay. Library to interact with Docker Compose v2 from a Python program. All commands and parameters are exposed as Python classes and attributes to allow full auto completion as if parameters with an IDE. Nice. Cool, so we can set where the Docker Compose file is, run it in a detached state. Working directory, nice. This one actually may work just fine. I like the idea of it. Let's go look at it over in GitHub real quick and take a look at the code for it real fast. MFA is still too complicated for most school districts. Yeah. I'll tell you all a funny story. So I actually tried to get a meeting with this kid. Several of my family members work in school districts, and one of the students, he works at like a gifted and talented type school. One of the students found a way to privask not just himself, but he did it to everybody in the school district, to like a global administrator in their Google Workspace. He found a flaw in it. And they didn't expel him or anything, but I really wanted to talk to this kid for two reasons. One, he's obviously got an aptitude for offensive security. And two, I wanted to talk to him because I wanted to explain to him, hey, what you're doing is illegal and can land you in a lot of trouble. I wanted to try and get him off the path of going to prison where several of my friends have been, and get him on the path of like, you can do legit work and be paid well to do it. Especially if you're really comfortable and you like cloud environments. We literally had someone fall for this Friday email from our superintendent. Hey, in a meeting, can't get out to you right now. Can you buy 10 Apple gift cards? Oh, good Lord. Not the Apple gift cards, man. Bro. It was sent at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. And during the summer, yeah. Oh, man. That's horrific. There was one time, so towards the end before my dad passed away, so for anybody who doesn't know, my dad passed away about 2 months ago now. just shy of 2 months. And I could tell he was starting to have like some cognitive decline. My dad has always been a very sharp guy. He was an aeronautics engineer, worked at Northrop Grumman, did some really amazing work there. But I walked in and he was literally on the phone with the Microsoft tech support scammer, and like he had the run window open and he was typing stuff in, and I was like, Dad, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, I'm talking to Microsoft tech support. I was like, yeah, did you call them or did they call you? He's like, and he walked me through how he got connected to them. I took that phone over. I cussed that dude out so much. I'm not going to repeat what I said because then the swear jar is just going to explode. But I lit that dude up. I finally ended up with something like, man, you need Jesus. And I hung up on him. Yeah, Tommy, but at the same time, yeah, they are teachers, but not everybody is well versed in everything. And that's why I'm real big on tech literacy, because if you don't understand the basics of how some stuff works, it literally might as well be magic for you. Where's the Docker Composer? There's the base runner. Maybe it's in init. Oh. So yeah, it should be. There's the runner. Maybe it is over here. Hold on, because in the example here, they're running. I want to see what the actual Python code looks like. So they're importing it from Docker Composer. So Docker Composer, they import Docker Compose. There's the base runner. Where are they pulling this from? Masters in education, but can't figure out how to open a PDF unless it's from a scammer. That's because the scammers tell them how to open it. They tell them exactly how to open it. Most of the great teachers I worked with didn't know technology at all. Didn't make them bad teachers, just made them easy targets. Exactly, man. I mean, heck, I don't know anything. What I don't know could fill the Grand Canyon and then some. It's a huge amount, right? I'm really good at what I do. Hey, Noon, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. Where the heck is this class coming from? Oh, wait, hold on. I know where it's coming from. Something from the init. That's where. So from runner root import these guys. That's it. So it's from runner root. There we go. That's the Docker Compose root. Hold on. Let me back this up. Oh, I see what they're doing. So they basically created a root class here, and then they're a subclass here. I think that's what they're doing. You said doo-doo. I know, right? So let me see what they're doing here. Command, attach, build, copy, exec. So from runner command is where they're getting all this stuff. I want to see how they're actually executing these. Let's look at the exec option here. Execute a command in a running Docker. Okay, so everything is building off that Docker base runner here. Let's go back over to that one. At the beginning of the school year, I got a ticket that said TV won't turn on unless plugged in. Bro, that's bad. I think this will probably work for us, this Docker Composer. I wish I could understand a little bit better of how it was actually functioning. Let's go see if we can actually add this. Let's go try this. Poetry add. Dude, that's horrific. TV won't turn on unless plugged in. I was like, as far as I know, we lost all of Tesla's patents on how he did wireless air transmission of power. So I think you're just gonna have to stick to the good old power cable. What's the echo command used for? Like, what's the practical use of it in a real world scenario? So one of the things you could use it for is you might actually use that as part of a pipe, Tommy. So for example, if you had some environment variable and you wanted to format data from that environment variable in a special way, you could echo it like that. So for example, if I come over here and I say, let's say food equals, I don't know, Jello. Easy thing you can do is you can just echo that variable. Sometimes it's a great way to just figure out like what's in there because it will expand that. And so anytime you have something that, let's say you've got a program running in the background and it doesn't have a good, clean way to return like standard output, so like in your script, you could put an echo command in there that says, hey, this is what I'm doing and here's how. You could just go basically use it for string formatting. Let's see here. All right, so we got Docker Composer added. I kind of feel like calling it Docker Poser. So our entry point to all this currently is Stinger. I'm trying to think how I want to use this. Another use case also for Tommy is if you need to add something programmatically to a text file, let's say like you've got a config file on disk, one thing you can do is you can actually use the output redirectors. So rather than doing a pipe, here, let's do this. So for example, let's say you had it echo something like a variable, so $foo, and then you could pipe it over to like config.txt or whatever. So some config file, and then that whatever that command is gets appended to the end of the file. Or if you need to use it to like write a file and embed the text for the file over into a script, you'll see that quite a bit, where basically they echo what the config file is in the configuration script and then output that instead of with this double out, a single out. So basically it overwrites the file over there. Yeah, exactly, Hack. So you can also put it in if you're trying to figure out what a loop is doing. I'll tell you the best option that I actually use echo for is if I'm not quite sure exactly what a command is going to do, I will write out the command and then I'll go back and I'll prepend an echo to it. And then I'll make sure all the variables and all the various pieces actually formatted correctly and the terminal did interpret the command correct before I actually go through and run it and potentially damage the system. So it can also be used for, like I said, a lot of, like Hack was just saying, a lot of debugging. You can use it for testing things out. You can use it for whatever your creativity dictates. Let's see here. Let me look at something real fast here. I'm thinking about over in the initializer potentially So if we go back over to Stinger, right, we have the initializer here. I'm thinking maybe just in the initializer node, I'll put the Docker Compose stuff and have it actually go spin up like robo pages. Although to do that, we'll probably need something, again, in the state table or some way to manage that information. Actually, I'll tell you what we could do is we could actually put that in the configuration file here. Yeah, because we're reading the environment variables. We've got everything we need to in here. So in the configuration, we could put the Docker Compose stuff. Then it's available to all the agents because we import that config into every one of these subscripts. Wait, alt dot inserts your last argument on the line? Really? Huh. Wait, is this just going through the history? No, it's not. Oh. Okay, that's sick. I did not know that, Hack. That's awesome. Another fun one, by the way, Tommy, is if you hit Control R in the terminal, you can do a search for like the last time you ran something. So for example, if I did a search for LangGraph, you can see the last time I ran the LangGraph command. It'll search that entire command string and bring it up. I use that one just about like every day. There's so many little tricks you could do. I didn't know that one, Planet. That's awesome. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We will stick all the Docker Compose stuff over here in the configuration. Look at the example code. So real simple. All right, let's see here. Let's go set this up real quick. Yeah, I think that will be the best place to do this, is throw it over in the configuration here. Not food jello. Because this is like a remote desktop style interface, this is actually a web page being rendered. The copy paste gets a little funky sometimes. We import this. That's fine. Just curious if we had anything else in here. Docker Compose. Let's see what else we need to set up with this. So we're going to set up our base. That'll be our Docker Compose file. So we need to get the YAML file for the Compose that we're going to actually run. Okay, cool. Ads are done. All right, so Tommy, you're asking, how did I do the upwards arrow? You're talking about like going back through the terminal? Like I've got going on right here where I'm just like going through all the previous commands. If I nano a file, it gives options at the bottom. Oh, you're talking about this little caret looking thing? Because that caret is, that's a symbol meaning control. So in this case, like if I wanted to exit out of this, I'll hit Control X, and that'll exit out of it. Yeah, so for example, if I come down here and I hit actually like, I think like Control F, nah, it doesn't do that. Yeah, no, don't feel bad, man. It's all good. I wasn't sure what you were talking about because I don't use Nano. Usually call that the carrot, but yeah, that's what that is. Let's see here. Default Docker is. Actually, I got to look at something real quick because the way we have this set up here. Oh, that's right. We actually, that's where we defined this. We defined it up here. I was like, where did I thought this config was from LangGraph. No, that's not it. Let's see. We'll call this just Docker Compose. And that's going to be, what's our base type going to come back from this? Oh no, we need to actually define something like. There we go. All right, Carson, thanks for stopping in, man. Yeah, we'll have the we'll do Hacker News on Tuesday night, and so we'll go through interesting news stories. I started actually collecting them again. I know I was out of the news cycle for a long time. I just didn't have the give a damn to go through and handle the news, given everything else that was going on in life. Squid, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. I think I want to do this. This should come back as a Docker Compose. Like that, or maybe just a Docker Compose. Now, because this returns a Docker Compose root. Take a look at this real quick. So when we initialize this, where's the init function? Actually, I think we can just set it like that. So it says, hey, this is supposed to be a Docker Compose here. So we need to go find the file for the Docker Compose here. So we'll need to go set that up. What are we working on today? We're still working on HackBot. It's that we're having to add some extra functionality and tooling so that way we can have a browser that our agent can use. And then it can use that to go do the exploitation task where it needs to drop the web shell for our test case. So we've been adding some extra tooling so that way, because every time the exploitation agent kind of creates the steps to accomplish the exploit, it's doing great. It is coming through. Let me bring this up. It's running through Recon and Enum just fine. When it gets to exploitation and it actually builds out the steps to do the web shell exploit, it's doing everything as if it's explaining it to a user on like, go here, click here, do this, do that. So I figured the easiest thing, and we're probably going to need it later on, is let's go set up a web browser in a Docker container that the exploitation or any of these other agents can actually use. So that is what we've been working on. Now, unfortunately, it has brought us a little bit extra overhead having to go through and fix stuff, but that's just kind of par for the course, really. Yeah, so eventually what we're going to, right now, I'm running a lot of the stuff for, a lot of this stuff gets run in, everything gets run inside Docker containers, but we're kind of running it piecemeal. I go turn on the RoboPages server, I turn on the Docker container for the browser, and one of the issues we've been running into is this Docker container up here after we run it, for example. So it's running and it's doing well, but sometimes it crashes and we can't connect back to it, and it's just completely borked. So we needed to have a way where HackBot could go spin up its own browser, and also eventually what we'll do is we'll add in logic to say, hey, the browser has crashed, we got to make a new one, and then keep track of that. May, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. Welcome in and happy Sunday. I have to take a look at it to see if there's a way to integrate it efficiently, but I'm trying to make it to where it is, you can do that. Like if you want to use it as a library, you can. This is my first kind of foray into making an actual large project. I've had a lot of experience on reading code, finding bugs in it, hacking on it, modifying code to do different things, but building something from scratch is not something I actually have a lot of experience with. So this was a chance for me to start getting that extra experience on crafting a larger project. See, here's the kicker though, Hacks, is the container isn't failing. The container's still up and running. It is the Chrome process inside the container that's dying. That's the killer part. Ooh, I just realized something though. It's amazing how Windows is now the best for multi-platform dev with WSL. WSL has its faults, and it actually adds some complexity to it. But honestly, I'm running this on a Debian system over here. This is the Debian system inside my lab, so it's running purely on Linux. It makes it a little bit simpler also because the one flaw that you can't do with Windows Docker is you can't do something called host networking. So for WSL, let me clear this stuff out. So for WSL, what you're doing is inside the NT kernel, this is completely segregated, right? I don't know why I wrote kernel. There you go. So inside the NT kernel, everything is running. What actually happens whenever you enable WSL, like particularly WSL2, what happens is you're actually coming over and you're running your base kernel in Hyper-V. And then all of it's being passed through to your hardware. So from here out to your hardware. So what happens is whenever you run WSL2, now it actually comes and spins up a Linux kernel that then Docker over here running inside Windows connects over to. Now the downside about this is whenever you run this, and it does the same thing for WSL also. This is how you're getting your Linux environment. And there's some back and forth between these. They've got some really interesting mappings that happen in here. But this is essentially what is happening. So the networking gets really crazy because this Linux machine cannot use the network resources directly over here. There's something with Docker called host networking. And in that case, what happens is your containers actually share the network stack of the underlying host that is running Docker. So they're sharing that namespace in the Linux kernel. You cannot do that in Windows environments. You can do it in Mac if you use something like OrbStack, but the default Docker for Mac doesn't even do it. So this is the reason why we're running this on a Linux host, is so we can have this host networking capability directly. Yeah, Oni, Hyper-V, I wanted to like it. I got sent, probably like in 2015, I think, to a course by my company to just learn about Hyper-V. I actually got really excited about it. I thought it was really cool. And then just some very basic use cases where I tried it, it was just absolute dumpster fire. So my love for Hyper-V initially got quickly just extinguished. So the error state isn't reporting back to the main container correctly. I'm not quite sure, Hack. I think what's happening is, you know how like whenever your browser crashes out, we can try something actually. Let's do something real quick. Let's go force crash it real quick. Let's see. No, that wasn't it. I'm going to bring this container up. Let's go force crash the browser real fast. And then I'll come back and finish up the config file. But if we go over to the browser agent and I tell it to go visit, like, we determined this yesterday, like if it goes to yahoo.com, any page that is relatively complex, it's going to just absolutely fall on its face. So let's run this. So what we told it is we wanted to browse to yahoo.com and describe the page. So we go run this. But what happened? That is not correct. Oh, hold on one second. I know what's wrong. It's importing the config file, and the config file is not completed just yet. Hang on one second. Let's see. Let me fix this real quick. Docker compose equal none. We'll just set that real fast here. Because we're not using Docker compose just yet. Yeah, I know you expected that, but anyway. What the heck? What just broke on it? Come on, this was running last night. Let me take this part out real quick. Laughing, you turd. Why is it all of a sudden saying that the chat Anthropic object has no field AI info? Why is it saying that? Because it absolutely does. So let me back out some of these changes real quick and see, make sure it's not the config that's messing it up. Doesn't that say AI invoke would be AI invoke with 2 eyes? No, not quite. This is actually what we just had it set to a minute ago. Let me back out some of the changes here. Let's see. I don't think I busted anything up in it. I'm gonna back this way up real quick. Actually, Hilton, this should be a good state right here. Nothing should have busted on this. This is weird. We tried. That is really weird. Dude, I'm hoping... Oh no. I'm hoping that when I accidentally ran the install... Because remember, I was installing that, I didn't jack up the Python environment. But it should be running inside. this is... Let's see. Let's see, so we do async run, it hits the runner. We go to async IO runners, base events. So this is over in browser use agent utils, line 329 in wrapper. So it's using everything from the virtual environment, which is good. That's where it should be running everything from. What is going on here with this? This was literally working last night. Let's see, this is a really simple example too. So let me see, we turn off telemetry. Let me double check something real quick. Because we actually may... I don't think we'll get a trace off it here. Because it never actually got to spawn the language model. Yeah. Let me back out all the changes I did here. Take all this out. Because the config file is the only thing that could have changed that actually was kind of adjusting this. Alright, let's try this one more time. That is so weird. Let's see, version 033 introduced our own language models. We switched away from LangChain. Oh, come on. So pre-033, I used to authenticate through GCP CLI. However, in version 033, it looks like the only available option is setting the Google API environment key. So I just wanted to check, is the only supported authentication method in this version? Let's see. Let's double check which version of browser use we're actually running. I wrote a chat LangChain class you can use since your workflow requires on LangChain, but you need to spin up your own chat.py and serializer.py. This is suboptimal. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Try to do this here. Let's look at the lock file for the poetry lock. Let's see. Oh, not like that. support this. So we're using version 0.33. Well, no, they just update this? I mean, this is weird. Because when we installed this, we literally just installed it from PyPy. That's kind of lame. I don't want to go initialize my own. The whole reason we had this set up was so that we could keep track of everything. So we're using 0.33. They're saying that they're not using the... They're not supporting the LangChain Anthropic versions from LangChain. Wait, now it's saying this isn't found. What? Let's see, so this is going to model support examples, models, LangChain. Yeah, for some reason I don't even see that branch in here. That's... I wonder why they stopped supporting LangChain in here. I mean, he just pushed us 3 days ago. Why would it already be gone? Let's go try something here for the browser agent. Let's go ahead and import their copy of it. And so instead of using this, let's see. What was the example they... So from chat Anthropic, we should be good there. I hate to kind of do this though. Let's see. L equals. Comment that out. What options can we give it here? So we need to give it the model. So we can basically, I think, just copy this same information that we have here. In fact, we can use this real quick. So rather than import that, we'll just import configuration. Actually, no, correction, we can actually do it from here. Yeah. So model is going to be config. That's what the model we want is. Then I believe temperature. There we go. We'll do the same thing here. Configuration, model type. Now we're talking. Of course, they had to make a breaking change like right in the middle of this. All right, so then what we do is just swap this out here. All right, let me try that now. So weird. It literally was working just fine last night. I don't know what happened. I wonder if it maybe... Only thing I think of is when we accidentally ran that. Okay, so the example.com version is working. Let me go ahead and stop it here. Kill this. So now we can actually do what we originally wanted to do before we had to go troubleshoot that, which is browse to Yahoo and force a crash on the page. Describe the page. Right. Let's see. All right. While this is running, guys, I'll be right back. I need to get some water. All right, I'm back. You know, Oni, if I actually did have to poop as much as you guys thought I did, I'd have to go see a doctor. Hey, man, what's up, dude? There's a rate limit on it, band. All right, let's see here. It looks like it actually did run. I'm going to run it one more time. We'll see if we crash the container again. Okay, here's what I was talking about. So it completed the first time, right? But now where it says we're connecting to an existing remote Chromium browser over CDP, but here it's going to time out. If only real life had a rate limit on it. Word. I would have rate limited so many things by now. So this is the error that we're coming up with here. Actually, I want to go see something real fast. This is actually going to make me real sad if it's not showing up over here. Oh, bro. So, notice how now we're not getting the runnable sequences anymore? We should have seen runnables appear here when the agent was running. That is suboptimal. Because the whole reason why I thought browser use would be a good thing to use is we would actually see it doing its stuff over here in the trace for the project. Let me go look at this real quick here. It's going pretty well, man. We've been working on adding a browser into the mix so that way the agent can actually have a headless Chrome browser that it can control and modify and interact with websites for. So we're using this really neat library called browser use. However, it worked with our LangChain integration, but it has stopped working, unfortunately. So we had to go spin up a new copy. So this was the chat Anthropic from LangChain. Now it's not integrating with it at all. I know somebody has to have come up with a modifier for this. Let's see. Browser use 0.3 LangChain. Let me see what these guys were coming up with here. Yeah, so it says chat OpenAI has no object A invoke. What was the reason for switching away from LangChain? Look at the docs here. So we recently switched from LangChain to our own implementation of the models to migrate previous code, just replace from here to here. Yeah, but that's not what I want though, man. And see, this is the problem. Should be compatible-ish. Why? I want to know what was the reason why they migrated off of LangChain, because it made getting the integration amazing. LangChain hard, brain soft. I guess so. Actually, no, I've looked at the GitHub repos of the guys that are working on this. They're very smart guys. I'm sure they had a good reason for it. However, I wish they had continued having support for LangChain. So browser use is it's a really cool tool, man. Check this out. See if I can find a good example of it. Here we go. There's a quick example of like what it's doing. So you're giving it a task. It actually is loading up like a Chromium browser. This is an example of like kind of what it sees. And it's coming through and hitting these various options and has complete control over the browser. It's using a thinking model, a thinking type style prompt on the back end, but it's really sick. So eventually, to get it to be able to handle more of the CTF use cases, a lot of those are web exploits. And it seems to be, it always wants to generate the exploit instructions as if you're controlling a browser. So I decided to just bite the bullet. Let's go ahead and get a browser and we'll integrate it into the system and let it do this thing. So browser use is what I settled on because with browser use, we have the ability to come through, originally integrated with LangChain. Right. But now they've completely wiped out the LangChain integration. So I'm trying to see if there's a better way we might be able to do this. And here's what they were saying, which is weird. Let's see. Browser use CLI is not working. I think the new switch away from LangChain broke it. Seeing the same issue after upgrading to 3.3, the breaking is problematic for us. We have a custom wrapper on top of the LangChain models, and migration would be challenging. Where can I read up on the reason for the migration? Yeah, exactly. I want to know about this. And see, here's the kicker, is he links to an updated class that you have to spin up your own chat pie and serializer pie, but I hope this helps. But these are broken links. They don't go nowhere. Yeah, I did some stuff, but now you need to do some stuff. Well, I would love to, if I knew what your stuff even was. Let me try something here real quick. I'm gonna swap this back here. I'm gonna see where it broke. I'm gonna see if I can hack around and find out. Let's see here. Swap this back over. We'll run it to force the error. It's gonna say, yeah, we can't do this. That's fine. So Chat Anthropic has no field AI invoked. So what we want to do is, I want to see. So we have a invoke defined here, and I'm pretty sure that there actually was one for. Let's see. Let's see. LangChain type. Let's see here. Chat models. Chat Anthropic. But see, that's the weird part, is we do have an A invoke. Kill me, Smalls. Think. What's going on? This system is spazzing out on me. Let me kill this container real quick. Weird. The system's not slugging. I don't know why it's being so slow. LangChain Selenium browser. It did just kind of break all of a sudden. This is a pretty big breaker. Now, the one thing I liked about it, Band, is that they had their own agent for it. But if we need to go recreate the agent, that's fine, and not use theirs. Basically go implement our own thinking mode for it, which Anthropic does have a thinking mode. I think most of them do. Let's see, because I'm pretty sure in here. Let's go find all this. So here's the A invoke here. Dang it, I lost where I was. Kill them, Smalls. There's the property name. Actually, let me look at something real quick, because it was throwing an error saying... It was saying the chat Anthropic object has no field AI invoked, which I know it does. That's what I'm thinking. Let me look at the Selenium browser you just sent over. Maybe we need to pivot off of it. Thankfully, I'm not very invested in the browser use agent. Let's see, a LangChain web browser tool based on Selenium. See, this is 2 years old, which makes me a little bit hesitant for it. One thing we could also do is we could go restrict the version. We could restrict it to 0.32 instead of 0.33, because that's where the breaking change occurred. Yeah. Yeah, I think that may be the way we want to go with this. So... I gotta figure out how to do that in Poetry. Poetry. The dependency version. Yeah, so we just need to go adjust that over in the Poetry config. Let's do that real quick. Rather than trying to figure out why they deuced out on LangChain, which was the whole reason why I wanted to use it. Let's see. Browser use. Less than 0.3.3. UV's what all the cool kids use these days. I'm actually liking Poetry. I mean, I thought about using UV for it, but Poetry's been working just fine. Let me see how I want to do this. Poetry update. I think it's browser. Oops. I'm gonna have to remove it and re-add it. It actually downgraded a bunch of stuff. That's weird. Do that. So we removed Google Gen AI, Grok, and WebSockets. We didn't need that. We downgraded LangChain Core to 0364. LangChain OpenAI got downgraded for some reason. I don't know why we just installed Ollama. I guess to support browser use. But let's go see if that actually might have fixed it. Oh, I need to actually clean this file up. There we go. Let's try it again. Almost got SSH backdoored with XZ. Wait, we didn't have XZ in here. There we go. So now it's back to working. So we just have to restrict that use, that version of browser use. Oh, I almost typed XZ. Oh man, that was a weird one though. That was a really weird backdoor. especially the way they did it, because like they shadow versioned it, and so people would install it, but then they'd swap it back. Yeah, that thing was. And think about it, that was a really, if for anybody who doesn't know this, XE was a backdoored copy of the XE library. And what it would do is it would handle authentication, and if a particular SSH key was presented, then it would allow them to access it. So it was a backdoor. The only way to figure out who did it is find out who is in possession of that SSH key. It was a very, very long campaign. I want to say it was 3 years that this person was working on this one project that was a very simple one, but highly integrated into other projects. So it's a supply chain attack. And as soon as it was deployed, it was immediately detected because some autistic developer from Microsoft noticed that a system he was hyper tuning, basically trying to squeeze as much performance out of it on a very restricted hardware budget, had an extra, I want to say, 400 millisecond login time. And that's what kicked off the entire detection of it. And it's like, I just think about, I know, right? It's like one person with weaponized autism saved the entire internet. That is, I hope that dude got a raise. I hope he got a raise and like 3 months off. Okay, cool. At least it's working again now. Let me go try spinning up the Docker compose here. I'm going to see if we can figure out what is going on with this Chrome instance here, where it just completely dies when it renders a like an important page here. It's like that meme with the knight, right? The knight's in the armor and he's like, you can, Mike, I'm impenetrable. And like the arrow hits him in the eye. 3-year-long infiltration campaign. Guy noticing a 400 millisecond increase in login times. See, now, if we come over to our traces, we're going to see the runnables appear here because we're actually using the LangChain stuff. Awesome. Oh, you forgot about the TISM. Dude, the TISM will get you, man. There are one of the things that it does is it makes people incredibly detail-oriented in the area that they're most interested in, right? And this dude was incredibly detail-oriented, and he noticed it, and he's like, boop, this is not good. Such an awesome story. It's one of those things where, like, hey, truth is stranger than fiction. Okay, so we got a page crashed right here. That's what we ended up getting. So now, at this point, let's go drop into the container. Let's do a PS real quick. We have app. Let me do something real quick. App install. Yes. I just want to see the process running. I want to see what it's doing. I've been told I've got the TIS, but haven't been tested yet. Oh, that's right, guy. You did work at Microsoft for 6 years. Dude, were you the one who found the XE bug? Because that would just make my day. Let me close up some of this stuff. I got too many damn browser tabs open. Sorry for the blinky lights. There we go. Oh, doing support. Dude, still. Let's see. Oh, that's what it is. It's proc PS. PS. Maybe this is what they were talking about with zombie processes. Hold on. I remember them talking about this. What's this called? Headless Chrome. Yeah. I thought we were running with this with no sandbox, though. Yeah. Because when we execute this, we're running, I believe, no sandbox. Yeah. So it's 365 and then Azure AD Connect with conditional access, do that stuff. Oh, yeah. Dude, those are important things to do, though. I'm actually kind of glad. I usually always rag on Microsoft when they rename their products, like when they renamed it from Azure AD to Entra ID, but it really did make sense because Azure AD had F all to do with actual Azure, and it just caused the verbiage issue that Microsoft already has because apparently their marketing department sucks at trying to name products, and they just would completely overload verbiage on things, and it would make it so difficult to keep track of. Let's see. Let's see. So headless Chrome could leave behind zombie processes, especially when running in containers or with certain configurations like Puppeteer or when using Docker. Zombie processes are terminated, but still listed in the proc table, often due to issues with process management and cleanup, particularly when using PID1 and Docker containers. This could lead to resource exhaustion or instability, potentially causing page crashes or preventing Chrome instances from starting correctly. I feel like open source is an unavoidable dumpster fire for supply chain, and it's just a matter of time until something major gets infected. Oh, absolutely, Bobby. Absolutely. I mean, there is a way to handle that, and that is you basically go lock your versions. So once you start working with a particular version, you don't do like what I was just doing, where you had version ranges in there. You don't have hashes that go validate which version you're actually using, and you go validate those, and also building into test environments. There's some ways to help mitigate it, but at the end of the day, it is still an issue. So if it, let's look at some real quick. So that's the problem here. PID1 is headless Chrome in here. I think I'm seeing what the issue is. See, this is Chrome DP, headless shell. And because they talk about zombie processes in here, like how to reap them. That's not what I want. I want the GitHub page. Let's see. You could experience a zombie process problem. To reap zombie processes, use podman's run tactac init r. Running Docker older than use duminit or teeny in your Docker files entry pool. A little suboptimal. Code signing is another option, but it has flaws as well. It does. Oh, interesting. Let's see what Mr. Bobby sent over. Do we have another option? because we're going to be locked to using some older versions of repos if we have to limit what version is supported by browser use 032. Let's look at this real fast. Open source browser API for AI agents and apps. Best way to build live web agents and build automation tools. Well, this is unfortunate because I really like browser use and I like the idea of what it's doing. It looks freaking sick. There's some stuff in that it's doing that looks absolutely phenomenal. But that LangChain thing, actually, hang on, let me look at something real fast. I don't want to give up on browser use just yet because it fits so many of the bills. They've got to have like a community page, like a Discord or something. Pricing, features, documentation. Ugh. Oh. Dark mode, this is hilarious. I don't know if you can see this. Dark mode is called founder mode. And if you click this, it goes to VC mode, like venture capital mode. It's white mode. That's hilarious. Okay, they actually do have a Discord. I mean, we're getting towards the end of the stream anyway. I don't want to give up on it. I like the idea of it. If I can find some way to wrap, to extend or wrap or do some kind of modification to what LangChain is doing, because I want all of the telemetry from LangChain with this, where it's not going to bottleneck browser use, that would be amazing. Hey, Bikini, what's up, man? I thought you had to shoot them in the head. The zombie processes? Yes, that's exactly it. The problem is this, though. Actually, here, it's down here. See how the process ID is 1? And you have to remember, for Linux systems, everything starts, all the processes are inherited, right? On Windows, you can actually get away and allow processes to inherit up. Hang on one sec. Let me clear this up just a wee bit here. Otherwise, I totally would just shoot it in the face. So in Windows, right, you have usually like PID 1 or something would be like the NT kernel, right? It's up there running. I know that's probably not actually correct. Ah, the freaking ads just came up. Hang on. I'll explain this in a second once the ads are over. Agent S, another idea. Let's see. Compositional generalist specialist framework for computer use agents. Ew. Interesting. Let's look at this one real fast. Oh wait, Bikini, you're in Turbo, aren't you? Oh, you do have Turbo. Okay. Here, so this is what I was saying. So on the Windows side of the house, right? And you'd have these sub-processors, like you'd have process 2, process 3, and let's say down here you had process like 6,000, and this even had sub-processes of like, 7,012, 8,142, whatever. If you come through and you kill like some of these lower processes in here, let's say this one dies, this can actually inherit up in Windows. In Linux land, this can't do this. If PID 1 dies in Linux land, it's gone. Just all the sub-processes die with it. And thanks for the resub, brother. I love you, man. So that's the problem with what's happening here is we can't reap the zombie process because it is the root process in the container. That's where it's causing the issue. So we could go through and modify it and set up our own browser here. There's another one here. I actually just did a quick search for this. This is the LangGraph computer use agent. Python library for creating a CUA system for LangGraph. A CUA is a type of agent which has the ability to interact with a computer to perform tasks. So it's funny, they always call it a KUA agent, but really, a lot of these are like browser agents. And they always usually show it using a browser. Like, I'm curious to see what else it might be able to do. Bikini Viking, thanks for the follow, man. Thank you. Actually, that's not what I say. Thank you for coming online. Welcome in. That's what the dial tone is for. Sounds of my youth. I actually need to get a different dial tone because that one's a bit long. When like a big raid comes in, we could be listening to the dial tone for like minutes solid. Let's see. So the project by default uses Scapybara to access virtual machines to run the agent. What is Scapybara? I've actually never. Scrappybara. I've never actually seen this. Dead easy computer use. Interesting. Let's see, you're an advanced AI computer use agent. The browser you're using is already initialized and visiting google.com. You know, something else we could actually do is we could, if browser use agent is just not working for us, we could just go roll our own for LangChain. Oh, I have not looked at Agent S yet, guy. I had an idea and I went to go search for it. Let's see. A compositional generalist specialist framework for computer use agents. Let's see. So what do we have here? Descriptive action, experienced knowledge, manager, worker, grounding, memory. Interesting. Let's see. If you're running on a Linux machine, create a content environment that will interface with Hayat Spy. Let's see. Telephone keeps ringing, so I ripped it off the wall. I cut myself shaving. Now I can't make the call. Oh. Where is that from? I do not recall where that's from, band. And I know you're going to say it and I'm going to think about it, but I'm drawing an absolute blank on it. I think Agent S, it looks interesting. I'm going to keep it in my back pocket, guy. It looks like it may be more than what we need right now, but I want to keep it. I want to keep it in mind because it may come to the point where, hey, we start abstracting more stuff out and actually turning the workflows more into thinking model executions and letting them go that way. Oh, the 2600 off the hook. Yes. It sounded so familiar, man. Dude, I'll tell you a funny story. So the local DEF CON group we've got here in Dallas is we have I don't know if it was the 20th or the 25th anniversary party. And so we rented out a place over in Deep Ellum, which is like kind of like the music scene of Dallas. And there's a nerd rapping group called Dual Core, and they were coming in to do a performance with them. For the party. One of the guys got sick. So the running gag all night was that dual core couldn't make it, so Pentium took its place. It was single core. It was funny. I like that idea, guy. And that's why I'm keeping it in my back pocket, because it may come to the point where after we get done with all this, I decide that we should give it a little bit more autonomy in what it's doing. Stupid QWERTY muscle memory. Oh, laughing, that's right. You're still getting used to the new keyboard layout. I actually may have another use case for this, guy. So thank you for showing this to me, because I'm going to take a look at it. It sounds very beefy. And like I said, I think it may need, I think it's going to provide more than what we need. And I'm not quite sure how to integrate it with kind of what we're doing. The big thing about browser use was it was supposed to integrate very simply with what we were doing. This one might even be a little bit too much, this LangGraph QAPI. Really, I think what we need is, if we get down to like the bare minimum, we need something that can spin up, they can basically initialize the Docker container. We can do that with Docker Compose. And we need something that can go browse through a site and figure out and do a little bit of reasoning about it. Browser use fit all of that criteria. They're just killing me with this LangChain restriction. Yeah, guy, the difference is though we're looking at it from the way where we could use a command prompt. However, I'm putting all the commands that it's going to be running, we're putting those into tools that the agent can call. So we're not giving it unfettered access to the computer. We're restricting it, like we should properly when we follow security controls, and giving it explicit tools that it can use. Now, it actually does have a couple tools in there where it can get creative. Like, for example, there's a Python executor container where it could spin up and it can run Python commands. Security schmurdy. I know, right? Dude, that's why I'm always ripping on a lot of these AI studies. Like, if we gave an AI full control over the computer, and then we told it was going to get deleted, and then we saw, so we told it first its sole job was to like exist, and then its secondary, we tell it we're going to delete it, and then, oh my god, it did things to fulfill its primary objective, which you told it, and you put it into a contrived scenario. I like a lot of the information around artificial intelligence security, particularly around language models. However, a lot of the scare really is just scare. It's like, hey, we put it in a contrived example and it did contrived things in a bad way. How about you contrive these nuts? Yeah. You think, therefore you are. Now I'm going to make you no more. Yeah, exactly. I want the agent to be able to go through and do some thinking and reasoning. However, I don't want it to have unfettered access. In the same way, I would not go give a junior penetration tester on my team unfettered reign to go, hog ass wild on a client's environment. Oh, swear jar is up to 35. I like the idea of what it's doing here. Let's look at this Steel browser again, because I only got to look at it for just a second. Let's see. Browser API that makes it easy to build AI apps and agents that interact with the web instead of building automation infrastructure from scratch. I keep dropping that darn thing. Poop jar make your progress. Dang it. No, poop goes in the toilet. Only thing that goes in the jars is the. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna talk about the neat memes. Get it? That USB drive is just lost. I'm not gonna pick it up again. I'm thinking the better scenario here is we actually go build the agent ourselves. We kind of map it out in LangGraph. We build it as an actual true LangGraph specialty agent, and we give it access to the browser. And if we look at browser use, the way it's doing all of this, so they got the browser use agent. They actually define the session in here. which if I remember correctly, the session in here, let's go look at that. I think we're going to have to just go roll our own. Let's see, browser, session. Let's see. Now, this is also barring, I'm going to talk to the guys over in Discord and be like, hey, what was up with the LangChain migration away from it? What can we do differently if I'm dependent on LangChain? Because I know I'm going to be far from the first person who's run into this. So the browser use browser, that's where we define the browser session. So from browser use, browser session, import browser sessions. Let's go to session. How do they do that? So browser comes from browser session, which comes from here. There we go. It represents an active browser session with a running browser process somewhere. I want to say they were just using, we looked at this in here. What were they using? Were they using Puppeteer in here? All right, man. Have a good night, man. Yeah, we're going to wrap up the stream here in just a minute. I wanted to see where they were doing this so I know where to pick up with next weekend. So Tuesday night, everybody, we'll do Hacker News. We'll see what's going on for the last week. Keep our situational awareness strong because the world of security is ever evolving. What were they using for this? I want to say they were using Puppeteer. Yeah, I think that's probably what we'll do is we'll go just bite the bullet. We'll go build our own browser agent in LangGraph. And though I really like what browser use is doing, but we'll have to check on that for next weekend. Let's see if anybody is over on InfoSec streams. It'd be really cool if like some dude who was really like laughed a lot was streaming right now so we could go raid him, but he's not. And unfortunately, this is the, by the way, I'll drop this over the chat. InfoSec streams is a great site. Usually we're the only ones on this late at night, but I keep trying to get some more folks on here. It's like I would like to see 24/7 coverage on the site here. Let's go see who else we've got on. Let's see. Braithwaite's on. He's actually playing Legend of Zelda today. Batch is on, still working on her MMO. Let's see. Oh, if you have any raid suggestions, please feel free to shout them out. We could probably repurpose a bit of logic and browser use to roll your own agent into this. That's what I was thinking about doing, Bobby, is we could do a deep dive on browser use, figure out kind of what it's doing, how it's structuring everything, and basically do it, because they're doing it in a non-stateful way. They're doing it by writing data to like MD files, and that wouldn't be an issue for us, because what we could go do is literally just keep it in a state table for browser use, and let it go through and do its own thing. Let's see. Anything fun right now? Let's see. Shindig is on right now. Making a chat racing game. Interesting. I tell you, we'll go give Shindig a raid. He's doing some fun development stuff. Actually, yeah, let me check. Yeah, we'll go give Shindig a raid over. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I have got to stop staying up so damn late. I can't take a 2-hour nap every day. So that's unfortunately we've got to wrap it up for the night. But thank you all for hanging out. I think next stream, we'll do Hacker News on Tuesday night. Next dev stream, we'll actually go through and we're going to reverse engineer, which means just read the code, on browser use. And we'll see about actually crafting our own over in LangGraph. We'll try to make it robust. We'll figure out kind of what they're doing, how they're developing everything, and we will crush it. We'll make our own with blackjack and hookers. Yep. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic night. J Party, thank you for coming online. I do love the good dial tones. And keep going, guys. The week is coming up. Get ready to crush it. I'm on a pen tester right now, doing some AI stuff, actually. So I'm going to go absolutely wreck shop tomorrow. And that's what I want y'all to do. Keep killing it. Keep crushing it. Stay strong. No case of the Mondays. Have a case of the crushing it. And I want y'all to remember one thing, which is very important. And it is, I love you. Peace.